Detective Jameson had seen it all. He had solved murders, burglaries, and even international espionage cases. But he had never faced a challenge quite like this one. The case involved a missing heirloom. A priceless necklace that had been passed down through generations of a wealthy family. The necklace had been stolen from its display case during a lavish party at the family's mansion, and now the family was desperate to get it back. Jameson had been called in to solve the case, and he began by interviewing the family members and guests who had attended the party. But the more he dug, the more confusing the case became. Everyone seemed to have an alibi, and no one had seen anything suspicious. But Jameson was not one to give up easily. He pored over the security footage from the night of the party, looking for any clues. Finally, he spotted something, a figure in black, darting in and out of the shadows near the display case. Jameson enlarged the footage, studying the figure's movements. The person seemed to be wearing a hooded cloak, and their face was obscured. But Jameson noticed something else. A faint scent of perfume, lingering on the air. Jameson was intrigued. He knew that perfume could be a powerful tool in a case like this. He began to research the different scents that were popular among the wealthy elite, looking for a match. Finally, he found it. A rare perfume, it was only available at a select few high-end boutiques. Jameson tracked down the store that had sold the perfume, and he was able to get a list of the customers who had purchased it in the past few months. But the list was long, and Jameson knew that he needed more information. He decided to visit each of the customers in person, hoping that he could find someone who could lead him to the thief. He started with the first name on the list, a socialite named Isabella Santini. Jameson arrived at her opulent penthouse apartment, where he was greeted by a butler in a crisply pressed suit. Jameson said,
"I'm here to speak with Miss Santini."
The butler looked him up and down, his expression unimpressed.
"I'm sorry, but Miss Santini is not available at the moment."
Jameson held up his badge.
"I'm a detective, and I need to speak with her about a case I'm working on. It's urgent."
The butler sighed and stepped aside.
"Very well. Follow me."
Jameson was led into a grand living room, where Isabella Santini was reclining on a chaise lounge, sipping a glass of champagne.
"Miss Santini, I'm Jameson. I'm here to ask you about a perfume that you purchased recently. It's a rare scent that was found at the scene of a theft."
Isabella's eyes widened.
"I don't know anything about a theft, and I certainly don't have the necklace, if that's what you're suggesting."
Jameson held up a vial of the perfume.
"This scent was found near the display case where the necklace was stolen. Do you recognize it?"
Isabella took the vial and sniffed it delicately.
"Yes, I do recognize it. It's a lovely scent, but I'm afraid I can't help you. I have no idea who could have taken the necklace."
Jameson left the penthouse feeling frustrated. But he knew that he had to keep going. He visited customer after customer, interviewing each one, and trying to piece together the puzzle. After several more dead ends, Jameson was starting to lose hope. But then, he interviewed a woman named Vivian Lee, who had purchased the rare perfume just a few days before the theft. As Jameson spoke with Vivian, he noticed a nervousness in her demeanor that he hadn't seen in any of the other customers. He asked her if she had seen anything suspicious on the night of the party, and she hesitated before admitting that she had. Her voice shaking slightly when she said,
"In a hooded cloak, they were lurking near the display case, and they looked like they were up to no good."
Jameson felt a jolt of excitement. This was the first solid lead he had gotten since he had started the case. He pressed Vivian for more details, trying to get a better idea of what the thief had looked like. As he was leaving Vivian's apartment, Jameson received a call from his partner, Detective Kim. She had found a lead on a pawn shop that was known to deal in stolen goods. Jameson rushed to meet her there. At the pawn shop, Jameson and Kim discovered that the thief had indeed sold the necklace there. They were able to recover it and return it to the family, who were overjoyed to have it back in their possession. But there was still the matter of the thief to deal with. Jameson and Kim combed through the pawnshop's records and were eventually able to track down the culprit. It was Vivian Lee. Vivian had been desperate for money and had decided to steal the necklace and sell it to the pawnshop. She had used the rare perfume to throw off suspicion, but it had ultimately led to her downfall. After identifying Vivian as the thief, Jameson and Kim decided to pay her a visit. They knocked on her apartment door, but there was no answer. They could hear muffled sounds coming from inside, but no one responded to their calls. Jameson noticed that the door was unlocked, and he cautiously pushed it open. The apartment was dark, but he could make out a figure huddled in the corner. It was Vivian, and she was sobbing uncontrollably. Jameson said,
Vivian, it's okay, we know what happened, and we're here to help you.
Vivian looked up at him with red, puffy eyes.
I didn't mean to do it. I was desperate for money, and I thought it was my only option.
Jameson and Kim listened patiently as Vivian poured out her story. She had been in debt to a loan shark, and had been told that if she didn't pay up, her family would be hurt. She had taken the necklace, hoping to sell it and use the money to pay off her debt. Jameson felt a pang of sympathy for Vivian. He knew that desperation could drive people to do things they wouldn't normally do. He decided to offer her a deal.
If you cooperate with us and tell us everything you know, we'll do what we can to help you. We can try to negotiate with the loan shark and get you some protection.
Vivian looked up at him, with hope flickering in her eyes.
You would do that for me?
Jameson nodded.
We're not just here to catch criminals, we're here to help people. And I think you deserve a second chance.
Vivian agreed to cooperate, and she told Jameson and Kim everything she knew about the loan shark and his operation. With this information, Vivian was given a reduced sentence for her cooperation, and she was placed in a witness protection program to keep her safe from any retaliation. As for the necklace, it was returned to the family, who were grateful to have it back. They even offered Jameson a reward, but he refused, saying that he was just doing his job. For Jameson, the satisfaction of helping someone in need was reward enough. Detective Jameson had been on the force for over a decade, and in that time, he had seen his fair share of loan shark cases. But the one he was currently working on was different. The loan shark in question was one of the most notorious in the city, and he had managed to evade the law for far too long. But Jameson was determined to catch him, and he had a plan. The loan shark's name was Tony, and he operated out of a rundown building in the heart of the city's seediest neighborhood. Tony had a reputation for being ruthless, and he had a network of enforcers who would do his bidding without question. But Jameson knew that the key to taking down Tony was to go after his money. Jameson had been working undercover for months, gathering evidence and building a case against Tony. He had managed to gain Tony's trust by posing as a potential borrower, and he had even taken out a loan from him. But Jameson had no intention of repaying the loan. Instead, he planned to use it as leverage to get Tony to incriminate himself. One day, Jameson received a call from Tony's assistant, a woman named Maria. She told him that Tony was looking to expand his business and was in need of new borrowers. Jameson saw this as his opportunity to get closer to Tony and gather more evidence. He met with Maria and told her that he had a friend who was in need of a loan. Maria set up a meeting with Tony, and Jameson went in wearing a wire. Tony was cautious at first, but Jameson was able to convince him that he was a legitimate borrower. Tony agreed to give him a loan, but he warned Jameson that if he didn't pay it back on time, there would be consequences. Over the next few weeks, Jameson made payments on the loan, but he intentionally missed a payment to see how Tony would react. Tony's enforcers came to Jameson's apartment and threatened him, but Jameson was able to record the entire conversation. With this evidence, Jameson went to the district attorney and presented his case. The district attorney was impressed with Jameson's work and agreed to move forward with the case. They set up a sting operation to catch Tony in the act. They had Jameson contact Tony and tell him that he had a friend who take a loan want to pay back. Tony agreed to meet with Jameson's friend, but he insisted that Jameson come with him. The meeting took place in a back room of a seedy bar. Tony was there with two of his enforcers, and Jameson's friend was there as well. Tony went over the terms of the loan, and Jameson's friend agreed to them. But then Tony did something unexpected. He pulled out a gun and pointed it at Jameson's friend. Jameson knew that he had to act fast. He signaled to the police, who were waiting outside, and they stormed into the room, arresting Tony and his enforcers. Jameson's friend was unharmed, and the police were able to seize all of Tony's assets. Tony was charged with multiple counts of loan sharking and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Jameson's work had paid off, and he had managed to take down one of the most notorious loan sharks in the city. The case made headlines, and Jameson was hailed as a hero. He had risked his life to take down a criminal who had been preying on the city's most vulnerable residents. But for Jameson, it was all in a day's work. He knew that there would always be loan sharks like Tony out there. It had been a challenging case, but Jameson had once again proved himself to be one of the best detectives in the business. He knew that there would always be more cases to solve, and he was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead.